Hi YouTube, welcome back to Wtf Rc Cars. So, question I've been asked quite a few times for the Nb4, but this will work for the Pros, the Plus, any iteration of Nb4. I'm going to run you through this on the Nb4 Plus. But separate lighting kits. I've had quite a few people ask me, how do you set these up, or is there anything you can do to make them more useful? So I've decided to get hold of one of the Dumbo RC. This is the FZD light kit, but you can use any you like. They should all work in a similar way, apart from the sort of extra features that I show you. But the lights at front and back lights, things like that. You've generally got at least 2 auxiliary wires, and these will go to your throttle and your brake as standard. On these kits you've got 2 extra auxiliary wires, and these are to control various functions at lighting kit. Unfortunately this one don't come with any instructions, so I'm just going to have to make this up as we go along. But I'll show you how to connect a basic kit, then we'll bring into play the extra wires and see if we can add some other functionality by using some of the features and functions that the Nb4 radios can do. So let's bring in for a close-up look and see how we get on with this, and it's going to be a lot of wires. Right, so first off we're going to need a transmitter, we're going to need a receiver. So whatever receiver you're using, for this one I'm just going to use the FBR8, but any 4-channel receiver will work. Or if you're just going to use the throttle and the steering connections, then you technically get away with 2 channels, but I think most are going to be 4 or upwards. Then we're going to need a speed controller. You can also do this with nitro. You just have to supply power to your little receiver. So first off, we're going to have to look at what the connections are, and on the lighting kit you've got channel 1, channel 2. So if we connect channel 1 to channel 1 and channel 2 to channel 2, then we're going to have our speed controller and a steering servo. So our steering servo we're going to have to connect into the channel 1, and then our speed controller, talking about loads of wires, you'll usually not have these 2 extra ones, but this is the new AX system, so you've got 2 auxiliary channels, but we'll leave them out for the time being because it's just going to complicate stuff. And if you have a look, you've got the sense pin and the negatives, so you just want to make sure you plug it in the correct way. The S pin will go to the white cable. So that'll get us as basic setup. Then we're going to have to put his bind pin in. So if we connect his battery, we should be able to power up. So we've got lights, should be in bind, and thank you Hobby Wing for the smart fan that turns itself off when not needed. So we're going to have to pick an empty model memory. You want to check your channel number definitions. We're going to make sure this is set on 8. We're going to go to bind set. We've got it powered up with our bind plug-in. If you do get a weird issue with this, what I have seen, so if we go to bind, this is where it should bind. Don't know why, but what I've noticed with this lighting kit, it does seem to interfere with bind process. So if you unplug everything, plug the ESC directly, and then you'll notice it goes into bind. I'm not entirely sure why the lighting kit stops the bind process working on these. But once we've got it bound, we can plug our channel 1 back into channel 1, channel 2 back into channel 2, and then connect our ESC with the S pin back to where it should be, and it connects up perfect. As I said, not really sure why having the light kit stops it going into bind mode, but it does. But we've got a steering and we've got a throttle. So once we've got the basics connected like that, then we can go about connecting our LEDs. So let's see what mess we get into here. So on these, all the positives are down front, negatives down back. So we've got CL, so are they corner lights or cornering lights? Not sure which way round it wants to put it, but let's see what happens with these on. So we've now got indicators or turn signals, depends where you are in world. So if we turn one way, we get one set flashing. If we turn other way, we get the other set flashing. Let's see what other lights we've got. So if we go for the next one, so it looks like these are just going to be on, but they dip when you go forward or back. So when it's at center, they're on all time. So I'm thinking they're going to work best as brakes. So they're on the brightest when it's stationary, and when you start accelerating, as soon as you let off, they go back. As soon as you let off, back to bright, and that works same in forward or reverse. So it's basically like when you stood, you've got your brakes on. Not entirely ideal, but it is a really cheap lighting kit. So let's see what else we've got. Well, we've got one labelled DRL and one DL. So let's have a look what the DRLs do. So they don't do anything. And let's have a look what the DLs do. So if we go for reverse, when we hit reverse, we get them on. When we go forward, nothing. So technically, maybe you could get away with them as reverse lights. And for some reason, the DRLs just seem to randomly come on and off. Not sure why. Not sure if they're just set on a flashing pattern, so they just randomly turn on and off. It is a weird little lighting kit, this. And then we've got another socket in the middle. And at the minute, they don't do anything. So, bit of a weird lighting kit. We have turn signals. We have brake lights that are on when it's stationary, but dim as we start to accelerate. And then when we go back, they go bright. We've got lights that come on when we go into reverse or forward, whichever you want it set up to. The way they work, I'm thinking they'd work really well as reverse lights. So at least when you stood still, the brake lights are on. When you go into reverse, reverse lights, let off, your brake lights are on, your reverse lights are off. So, next thing we need to do is connect the two auxiliary wires. So we've got one that says emergency light and the other says flashing light. So if we connect these, and you just need the white wires to the outside, and then we're going to have to go on transmitter, and we're going to have to assign something to channels 3 and 4. So let's have a look what we've got. So if we go into channel name, we go into 3, and then let's delete everything that's in here. So we'll set this to F light. We'll set channel 4. We'll set this to E light. So at least we've got them named now. Then we can go to assign. So this one, I'm going to set it to turn. We're going to set that to F light. So we'll have it to turn direction normal. And then when we press this, let's see what we've got control of now. So our front lights, or whatever they are, emergency lights, if we press that, we can turn them on. If we press that, we can turn them off. So you could now use them as your headlights if you wanted. Then if we go to that one, set it to turn, set that to channel 4, leave it as normal. So if we hit that, we get all our turn signals flashing. So channel 4 will turn all of them on and off. So you've got hazard warning lights if you like. Quite interesting that it's changed the name to F light and it's showing us whether they're on or off. But it's the wrong way round. So if we go into here, go into as F light, can we reverse it? So that's better. Now we can turn it on and off. And it actually says on and off on screen. The interesting thing is, why doesn't E light? So have we got a predetermined thing that we can use? So F light is one. So if we set T light as emergency lights, then when T light is on, we get as hazard lights working properly. And if we come back to main screen, you can see that you've got T light on off, stops it doing it, and F light will turn as front lights on and off. So if you have it set to one of the named menus for the lighting under the auxiliary, you've got full control and you do get a readout on screen. So at the minute we can have Z lights on. If we go into reverse, we get reverse lights. As brake lights function kind of acceptably. If you're moving in reverse, these dim to just be tail lights and you get your reverse lights. If you stop, your brake lights are on as though you're holding brake. If you start driving forward, they'll then dim down. And then when you let go, you've got brakes again. If we turn one way, we've got a set of indicators. If we turn other way, we've got a set of indicators. Now, these blue lights, I'm pretty sure now with the way this is behaving, if we go 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, we get these flashing. And if you go 1, 2, 3, 4, these will stop flashing. Now, one thing I've seen quite a few people complain about is the turn signals or the indicators. When you're driving a car, you don't get indicators coming on all the time when you're steering. And I know from seeing Tomley RC, it's one of his pet hates. So, This one is for Dumbo RC. The ultimate fix to make indicators, turn signals work as they should. So what we're going to need to do is have a separate channel operating our indicators. So if we disconnect channel 1, we plug our servo now directly into channel 1. So then we've got a steering. Then we take the channel 1 input and we plug this into his next clear channel. So that should be channel 5. So now we've got indicators, but we've got no way to operate them, but they don't operate when we steer. So now what we need to do is go into his naming, go into channel 5, and we're going to have to name this. So I'll set that to turn signal, or just turn sig. Then we've got to set up something to control them. So if we go to assign, we want SW2 and 3. So we've got our buttons on the side as indicators. So if we then change that to be combined, add it back to channel 5, and then set it to 3 position. So now we've got a 3 position switch that's running combined. Then what we should be able to do, if I can get these, is put your indicator on, turn your indicator off, put your indicator on, turn your indicator off. Now you could set this as a momentary. It's harder to do on the NB4 and the Plus. It's easier to do on the Pro, but I don't think a momentary would work really well for this, because as you're steering, you can just pop what indicator you want on, drive off, tap the opposite button to cancel it. If it were momentary, you'd have to hold it, which I don't think would work really well. But if we just quickly run through it, so I'm not sure how many of these lights you can see or what order they look like they're in. So basically, if we press the button on the transmitter, we can turn his headlights on and off. If we press the opposite side, we can put his hazard lights on, so we get all 4 of them flashing. If you turn it off, they'll go back to normal. If you want to indicate one way, you can put your indicator on, you can cancel it, you can indicate the other way, you can cancel it. So that all works. We've got a steering. If we go into reverse, as brake lights go off and as reverse light comes on, and if we go forward, we can drive normal, then as brake lights come on when we let go. So with this little cheap kit, not ideal, but it's a way of setting it up to function in some kind of sensible way. Now, to turn these on and off, I think it'd take a bit of practice, but I think you'd be able to do it. So basically you can just go 1, 2, 3, 4, and it'll turn it off. 1, 2, 3, 4, and it'll turn it on. So yeah, you can control the flashing lights still. Not sure if they remember when you turn it off, so let's try powering it off and powering it on. No, so it looks like they forget, but if you want to turn them on, it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then they're on. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then they go off. So you can still control them. Little bit more awkward than spinning wheel 3 or 4 times, but the fact that you've got turn signals that you can actually use as proper turn signals, guessing it's a bit more useful to most people that way. And again, this setting would work exactly the same across the entire NB4 range. If you copy exactly what settings I've done, it's all going to work the same. So if we go to assignment menu, you can see what we've got set up. So as we scroll down, we've got SWL1 set to channel 4, SW1R set to channel 3, and then the combined setup of the turn signals set to channel 5. So as I say, straight out of box, you can use it with no configuration. All you would have to remember is if the lights aren't functioning in the correct way. So if these lights are coming on when you're going forward, if you reverse your channel on your transmitter to correct the lights, you would then have to reverse the motor direction on the speed controller to make it work correctly. Luckily, the way I've set this up, this is just how they all come out box, and it's the right way round, whereas we get as reverse lights when we go into reverse, and we don't get the reverse lights when we're going forward. But yeah, interesting little light kit. Not sure why they make this, but I'll put a link in the description below if you just want a basic light setup. Bit confusing as to how the brake lights work, but you could switch them around. So you could change it to have one of the white lights on this, but it'd be a bit weird. So as you start to accelerate, they'd go dim, and your brake lights would work as you press backwards. But for me, it seems to make slightly more sense doing it where the reverse lights come on when you go backwards, your brake lights come on when you stood still, and then it goes dimmer, so your brake lights go out as you're driving. Each to their own. You can wire it totally different ways. It's only pulling wires out, and they don't come with any instructions. So yeah, this would just best guess. But it does seem to work well this way. We've got white headlights, blue flashing lights, orange indicators, red brake lights, and white reverse lights. So yeah, if you put this on a basic crawler setup, it worked quite well. I do think I prefer the turn signals not coming on as I steer, and me just being able to put them on, make your manoeuvre, then press opposite button to turn them off. To me, just seems to make more sense. Kind of works more like a real car. But hopefully that were easy enough to follow. I've been asked for it loads of times on how to do a light kit, and I have got a different light kit that thankfully comes with some instructions. But these are really, really cheap, and they're all 5mm LEDs. The wires are colour coded, so it makes it nice and easy. So you don't really need any instructions with it. You can just plug them in, see what lights up, and work out what order you want them in. But yeah, that's a nice setup for the NB4, NB4 Plus, NB4 Pro and NB4 Pro Plus. They'll all work exactly the same with it. So let's wrap this one up. So there you have it. Basic LED setup for the NB4 range of transmitters. And this one's using the dirt cheap Dumbo RC, I think it's FDZ or FZD light system. Most of the basic functionalities there. Nice that you can set the turn signals to be on these little bits rather than relying on the steering. And it takes a bit of practice, but you can turn on and off the blue flashing ones just by going through 4 times. It basically just needs to see 100% one way 4 times, and then it turns them on and off. So being able to go halfway back, halfway back, halfway back, halfway back, and it does it. But yeah, Hopefully that's interesting or easy enough to follow, or you just like listening to my incessant ramblings. But thanks again for watching Wtf Rc Cars. If you like this kind of content, don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, share to friends and family, and catch you guys again in the next one.